No one. Alrighty, g'day Dan. Thanks for joining us, mate. We're just going to wait a couple of, or a minute or so more, just get a few more people on. We've got 17 people watching at the moment, guys. So just give us a few moments while we just allow a few people to jump on so that everyone gets all of the information. Trust everyone's had a great weekend. Yeah, as good as it can be, obviously, for some of those in the southern states, but we have 20 now, so we'll get this started, guys. A very, very good evening to everyone right the way around Australia. Obviously, just a short notice broadcast for Bowlcast, but I had Morty reach out to us from TBA, or Morty's obviously a well-known bowler right the way around Australia. He's reached out and wanted to obviously speak about the Australian National Championships going on down in Tasmania, and he actually reached out to see if we could do something and obviously just have a chat to you guys directly in person. And I think this is the best platform to be able to do it through. We'll be actually having this as a podcast not long after the show ends tonight. So g'day, Michael Geelan. Thanks for joining us, mate. Appreciate you for jumping on board. But without further ado, let's bring on the man himself, Morty Douglass, well-renowned Queensland bowler. G'day, Morty. How are you?
Good, thanks, mate.
Pleased to have you on board. Obviously, thank you for reaching out to us and allowing us to host this. I guess this evening. It's just be good to be able to talk about 10-pin bowling, and obviously a quick shout out to our New South Wales and Victorian guys down there currently in lockdown. Hope you guys are all doing well, and fingers crossed this thing ends for you guys as quickly as possible. So, but we'll jump straight into it, Morty. We obviously TBA's made an official announcement today outlining the ANC's plans to forge ahead and get this event running and get it kicked off and going. So that official announcement can be found on TBA's Facebook page. Can you just give us an overview of the TBA announcement, Morty?
Yeah, mate. Look, the TBA and Rowan has made a release about this prior. As we start to try and work through COVID, we've just got to get back to getting people bowling. And we're going to be with COVID for a little while. So if we have events where we can't get everyone on the deck, I think we've still got to move forward, because if we don't run events and we're waiting for 100% participation post-COVID, that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, you're 100% correct, and unfortunately, we've seen just how fickle that can actually be. G'day, Paul, all the way from New Zealand. I appreciate that it's late over there, mate. So thank you for joining us. And yeah, so a little bit of an echo there, Morty. Not quite sure what's going on there. I don't think there's anything I can do at my end. So sorry, guys, won't be a second. Can you mute your other mic? Can you mute the microphone on the computer? Maybe. Perfect.
Is that better?
You're not echoing to me, guys. Can you just let us know if Morty's still echoing out there, please? Maybe just say a few words there for us.
Mate, can you hear me?
Sure can. No. Okay. A challenge. We've had a challenge, mate. Maybe get you to take the headphones off and unplug that, and we'll just go back through the native.
Better?
All right. Is that any better, guys?
So that's without there.
Oh, turn off your mic. All right. Okay. So you're still getting it, guys. Just in the chat there. Can you just let us know if it's echoing for myself? I did hear that feedback. You need to turn the mic off for your headphones. Righto. Is that still echoing now? I'm fine.
What about me?
Righto. I'm not real sure, guys. It's only coming from Morty's end. All right.
Is that better now, Andrew? Not perfect, but understandable. Okay, that'll do. I can't hear you, Colin. I can't hear you, Colin.
Righto. Okay.
I can hear you now.
You can hear me now. It's all right. Technical details, people. I got this little soundboard off over to my left here, and I happened to mute that microphone. So terribly sorry, guys. We're going to wind it back to the start and just go over the TBA official announcement for me, please.
Okay, so basically we put out an announcement just to highlight that ANC is moving forward, which really is the same communication that has been given to all the states for the last 6 months. So the whole goal was to make sure that we get back bowling, and the way to do that is to get money. And we just have to accept that in a post-COVID environment that you may not get all states field. The same way when we're in tournaments, that you may not be able to play on the field.
Yeah. Okay, so basically, just to wrap up, in case people couldn't quite get Morty there, he's saying it's just very, very important that we get 10-pin bowling again, basically, and unfortunately, you know, for our Victorian and New South Wales bowlers who are unable to attend, we are truly sorry. We would prefer to, or ANC would prefer to have you there, but it is just definitely important that we get bowling going again. So. I guess, can you give us, and this is a question without notice, and I do apologise, just give us some insight into the guys from ANC, if you can. Just share with the audience, I guess, what they're doing in the backgrounds to make sure this is the greatest event that they can possibly run this year, and obviously moving forward into next year as well.
Well, I suppose as a sport, we need to acknowledge that we don't have a lot of big event promoters that are looking at stepping up to help us build events. And ANC brings to the table a vast array of experience around running local events. And, you know, that's experience that we need to help move forward. So I think from that point of view, just in the event space, they're great. And what we also have is, you know, Mark was a bowler. So we go back, you know, he was a bowler a long time ago, but he bowled Shield. so he has some idea of our sport, and there's not a lot of people out there that are willing to, get events together and go out and track down sponsorship and government money and all the things that as a sport we need to do better. Well, these
Yep.
guys can help us do that better.
And I think that's important too. I think that they've done a really, really good job around getting, uh, I guess, state money or Tasmanian government money to be able to fund this particular event. So that sort of thing, obviously, I know TBA works very diligently, and all of the states independently work very diligently to get that money. But to have this put directly back into the national championships is a really good thing, and I think we've got to, I guess, be just a little bit patient and give these guys time to get an event up and running. We didn't have nationals last year, so I think we've all got to just stay positive and fingers crossed this wretched virus gets away next year or goes away next year, and we can get 100% turn up at Shield. So we're obviously getting a few things going, and I think I might have worked out some of Morty's echoes might have been from my end, guys. So hopefully that's fixed it. Nate loves Tani in the chat. As much as everyone respects what ANC is saying, 2 states cannot come. The event is all about states showing up. You need opponents to make this work. It's a tournament. It makes no sense when other states can't compete or cannot compete. Sorry. Why could you not postpone this for a few weeks?
Okay, so I'll jump straight in that because that's the elephant in the room, really, isn't it?
Yeah, for
so
sure.
there's 2 parts to Tani's question. So the first part is, why don't we postpone it? Well, I think if you take examples of the Hammer Classic, the senior, we postponed it because the state couldn't come, and then when we chose a new date, a state couldn't come. So if you go down the path of postponing events, we could just be postponing events indefinitely for the time being. The other problem we have is the calendar gets really, really crushed in the end of the year.
Yeah.
So the postponing events for like a small time for 2 weeks, I don't think it's a path for our sport. The second part of that question is about if 2 states aren't there, then we shouldn't compete. And I think as much as we all take the Nationals for granted as it's all the states on deck, we really have to be realistic and have a look at the history of the Nationals over the last few years. If you use everyone has to be here as a benchmark for running the National, we probably wouldn't have run our Nationals for the last 4 or 5 years. And to be honest, some of the states that have been propped up with drafts, and there's a whole conversation around drafts and development and getting more bowlers in states that are smaller. That's a whole different discussion. But
correct.
What we were having is, President Shield last time it run, the amount of Queenslanders that were through the 2 teams that Queensland had plus in the draft, we really probably didn't have states on the field then. So I think the perception that we've always had all the states attending our nationals is not accurate. So that's why we've gone with we need to move forward. We need to get bowlers back bowling, and the way to do that is run events. And I think most sports will be going, if we can get to 70, 80%, with COVID still floating around, we're doing well. And look, my last comment around that, it's particularly with President Shield. I saw a really great social media post from Adam Hayes about the Victorian President Shield kids and how they've done all this work and now they can't participate, and keep your chin up, and you'll benefit from the work you've done. So the comment would be, if it's so heartbreaking then that 1 or 2 states can't get here because of COVID, how heartbreaking would it be for all the states that can attend if we just pull the pin? So I think for the kids that can come and that want to participate, we need to run the event, and we need to get them here and get them bowling.
Yeah, look, and I think back to Tani's point, or Nate loves Tani's point. I guess pushing it back by 2 weeks would have been a logistical nightmare for all of the teams to be able to rebook accommodation. Accommodation may not have been available. So there is a heap of other logistical nightmares that may have gone into that in getting all of those teams, I guess, coordinated in the one spot. I mean, it would be ideal. And unfortunately, I run a tournament in conjunction with Carl Womack up here in Queensland, and we had our last event that was affected by COVID. So we can certainly sympathise and empathise with everyone on the fact that
And mate,
it's not ideal.
trying to fit the Cabo Open in now.
Yeah.
It was forced postponement. So
Yeah.
trying to fit it into the end of the calendar for the Q Tour South has been really difficult.
Almost impossible.
Correct. And so that's what the postponement does. It just keeps moving things back. And I suppose the real difference between ANC and let's say ATBSO, which I'm involved with ATBSO, and they've cancelled their event, is that basically ATBSO is in the middle of a COVID cluster. So
Absolutely.
We can all go there, but we can't come home. But that's not the same for Tasmania. Tasmania hasn't had a COVID case for, I think it's over a year now. There's the ability to travel from green zone to green zone. There's direct flights. There's a whole heap of ways for bowlers to manage their travel requirements down here and participate. And mate,
absolutely.
It's a cracker of a place down here. I went up to Mount Wellington today, and there's some great stuff to do when you're down.
Yeah. Okay. So we've another quick question come through. What if travellers are told they have to quarantine for 2 weeks after the event in the unlikely event of an outbreak? Now, just on that, Brenda, I have actually directly asked Morty this question myself on the phone, not 48, 72 hours ago. I had this exact conversation. So, Morty, it is a genuine concern. Obviously, it was for myself as well. So we'd obviously spoken on the phone about this, but can you speak to that?
Well, I would only go off my personal experience with travelling. And I've been doing a lot of Ks around the country the last sort of 6 months. And if you're going green zone to green zone, there is always a window of opportunity to get home before quarantine is enforced. Now, that's not saying that you get home and the health department come and knock on your door and go, you need to quarantine at home. I think it would be a really unlikely scenario that you would be forced into hotel quarantine coming out of a green zone. And my other comment would be, like, going from a green zone to a green zone is probably no different than going down the street in the green zone that you're living in. If you're going to run into that issue, it's going to pop up anywhere. So I suppose.
Yeah, I guess the challenge is if you do it in your own backyard, at least you're in your own backyard, and the potential for you to obviously isolate at home is great. I guess in that instance, I think a lot of people are genuinely concerned about having to go into hotel quarantine. The ramifications around that being $3,000 in costs, and then obviously a couple of weeks off work. So they are genuine. As you said, risks of COVID in Tasmania, very, 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 very slim. They did have that one small case that we were concerned about, but I think that turned out to be nothing. So yeah, look, there's risk. There's risk in everything we do. So it's not the easiest one. So there is some other good questions coming through. Danny Kirkwood, what has Tasmania's government determined as a COVID plan for this event? Have been unable to get a COVID plan from ANC?
Mate, I'm not sure. I can tell you that from a point of view of what's visible in the centre, there's a capacity number on the door. There are masks available at the counter for anyone that wishes to do that. Once again, it's a green zone down here. It's a bit like the difference between me up in Kingaroy and you down in the Brisbane area. Like in Kingaroy, we pretty much go around and do everything as we're doing it. Like, whereas you have some requirements or had some requirements in Brisbane. So I think working in a green zone and just using common sense like we've been using for ages, some of the TBA recommendations around not passing strikes and high fives and things like that. We've been living with this for a while now, so it's not like it's new to us, and I think we need to just make sure that we follow some common sense rules and just go from there.
Yeah, we play a big part as athletes and managers. We play a big part about mitigating that risk too. We're all aware of it. We're all highly aware of it, I guess. So, and I'm sure ANC would be able to speak to their COVID safe plans, because I'm certain they would have one, and that might be something that you could reach out directly, Danny. Sorry, to ANC in relation to. Morty, is that something you might be able to just take on notice as well and follow that up? We can get that posted.
Yeah, I'll ask the question, and I can reach out to Danny and let Brenda know. I'll return her phone call. She rang just as we were about to go on live, so I'll give you a call back later, Brenda.
There you go, Brenda. So that one was a good one. Leon, this is something I have pondered, I guess now for a few months actually. Why didn't we make it a virtual series, being that everyone stayed in their state and obviously bowl in a nominated centre on a nominated pattern? I guess it would have placated it, but if in this particular instance it would have been an event that would have still been marred by COVID lockdowns, so it wouldn't have the same effect. And I think if we wind it back 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago, we were 100% on track to get nationals executed, and then unfortunately those two lots of state-based cases turned up, and it's all sort of gone downhill from there. So 4 to 6 weeks ago we were fingers crossed and looking really good to get this thing done. So I think that may be something that might be investigated in the future. I'm not sure. I have no insight into that, but it's possibly something that could be looked at if COVID continues to rear its ugly head in Australia. What are your thoughts, Morty?
Around the virtual type.
Yeah, doing a virtual event, I guess, where you stay at home and you bowl in a nominated centre in each of the states and combine those scores online to come up with an event.
Okay, I think maybe if you were trying to run an event around a handicap system, it has merit. I think for elite competition, like not every centre has the same oiling machine. Not every centre is providing the same lane.
Exactly right.
It just, I think for elite competition, you can't build in those variables in a graded type environment where handicaps, they used to run a wide bay telephonic league up in the wide bay area between the 6 centres there, and the handicaps helped the bowlers in their centre, and they were built around that centre. Look, I don't see a place for it at elite level. I think what we'll have events that, unfortunately, for the next maybe 2 years, that not everyone will get to, and we're just going to have to make peace with that, unfortunately.
Yeah, look, it is, and it does, and rightly, there's a lot of great comments in the chat that speak to the fact that it could be, it opens itself up to cheating and other bits and pieces, and I think, I think we all have good intentions when we think about those sort of virtual events and the right people that get behind them. So, but I agree completely with everyone in the chat. It's not going to be the easiest one, and obviously your point, Morty, for an elite event or a high level event, that's probably just not something that can be done. So I've got to go back in the chat here, guys, because we've got lots of great questions. Here's a great one from Leone Peter. As it's known, some states can't attend the event. Does that mean those participants can get refunds for their squads?
Okay, so refunds have been a pretty hot topic the last 2 days on social media. So it's not new. Like, once again, the states have been meeting with ANC and TBA for the last 6 to 12 months. So if your state is locked down and the government has said you can't go anywhere or you can't get into Tasmania, ANC has always made a position that refunds will be available. So I don't. Look, it speaks to a bigger thing, Colin. It speaks to, we need to work out some of the better ways to communicate information out to bowlers. It's not filtering out through our states, and look, that's not our state's faults. It's sometimes bowlers aren't engaged enough with communication themselves, and that was why I reached out to you on Bowlcast, because I knew that this
Absolutely.
platform gets a little bit of coverage and we could get to some people. So
Yep.
so basically, if your state is in lockdown and you cannot get in to Tasmania, you just reach out to ANC and they will address that issue with you. It's a completely different conversation around if you choose not to come and you're travelling green zone to green zone.
Yep.
And that's something that I think all participants in any type of sporting environment, in training, in conferences, in this event space across the board. If you can get there but you choose not to go, that's a different conversation.
Of course. No, that's fine. It's a good question. This is gonna jump all over the place a little bit, Morty. I'm just there's questions that have come up that we've obviously had written down, and this was one of them. So Paul's just reached out and said, what does on-lane activation on the schedule at 8:30 on the Friday mean?
So, mate, it's a surprise for the juniors. So I won't go into that any further, other than ANC have been really keen. And look, it was really unfortunate that Devil's Lair didn't go ahead, because
Absolutely.
they're about that, finding our next generation of competitors. So the online activation is something for the kids, and it'll be on after, I think it's the morning after the President's Shield dinner. So
Yep.
to see what that is, you're going to have to be here. So I know you guys are really excited. The fact that the guys can get over from New Zealand, I had to fix a couple of entries for them today. So to find out, you need to be here.
Yeah, well, we picked some good weather for you, Paul. It's apparently a little bit cold down there, so yeah. And what do we got here? Yep, correct, Morty. But up until you doing this for everyone, there has been no communication or Q&A with the states. I can't speak to that. Morty will
Well, no, I'll
probably.
speak to that.
Yep.
So basically, look, I think I'll disagree with Tani on that particular point. There has been monthly meetings with the state association.
Okay.
So every 4 weeks, every 5 weeks, and they were all about letting states know what we were doing and what ANC were doing. So it wasn't only a TBA involvement. ANC were involved with that, and all of the states had a representative at that meeting. And
Okay.
then the goal of that is to actually get that information disseminated down to the state players. And it goes back to the comment I made. We need to work out a better way to get information right down to the players, because
Yeah.
I get it. A lot of our state associations are volunteers.
Yeah.
I know that life gets in the way of people getting stuff done, and you can't fault people who are standing up trying to do stuff for the state. But what happens is bowlers don't know what's going on. It sort of reflects poorly on everyone. So I definitely believe that after the event, the TBA and the states and ANC will sit down and perhaps discuss a communication plan where we have better access to get
Yeah.
information out to the players. And, that might involve, Colin, you and me catching up every 2 months, as we move towards ANC 22, and just, have a chat like
Absolutely.
this, and people can hop online and ask questions, and we give some
And
information back.
absolutely, and right throughout the event, let's do it. I'll have most of my gear down in Tasmania anyway, so we can fire up live streams at any point. That's not a very difficult thing to do, and happy to obviously facilitate that in whatever capacity. We can have up to 10 people in this feed, so there's plenty of room and plenty of scope. And if ANC want to learn about the technology that I'm using, I'm happy to pass that on, and they can conduct their own as well. Whichever way, it doesn't matter. I'm here for the sport, so or we're all here for the sport, so that's the main thing. Ash is just what are we talking? Andrew, double figures, like how many stairs? Okay, not quite sure what that was, Ash. Sorry, I missed the context with that one.
Might it be states, Colin? How many states?
Yeah, how many? Yeah, it might have been states, not
Yeah.
stairs.
So I can go through that. So
Yeah.
basically, Rockway at this stage, we have 7 men, 5 ladies. So it'll be the biggest challenge that I'll have, I guess, in working the draw and everything because we've got a fairly uneven number.
Mm-hmm.
But in the seniors, I think we've got six teams competing. In youth, it's 4 or 5, and in juniors, it's 4 or 5. So what we've got is the upside, I guess, and if there is any upside with states being locked out, is the change around President's Shield to the FIQ format has
Mm-hmm.
the teams that haven't been able to get here has not
Yeah.
made as big an impact. And I did see a comment today around, if it had been the old Rockway style of competition and we only had 5 states, it wouldn't have felt like an event. But in the
No.
FIQ format, the kids are going to be across the house. It will feel like an event. Mate, the centre looks really good.
Mm.
You definitely see the event knowledge coming out. I've never seen any other event dress up like this. So I
Wow.
think bowlers, when they get here, will be really excited. They'll see something different.
Cool.
They won't see the sun very much, but inside the centre, it's going to look Smith.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. No, that's great. Jenny just saying thanks for clarifying. Communication's what we need, which is absolutely. Morty, not Marty. Yeah, no, that's okay, Jen. We understand. Caitlin Kamain, do you need an all events to compete in Rockway? If Vix can make it last minute, we might not be able to fulfill that requirement.
No, you don't. And that was made and has been repeated numerous times at our state managers meeting. And that is one of the ones that hasn't flowed out well. You don't need to compete in all events. You don't need to compete championships. So
No.
what we have is a Rockway competition where you can potentially turn up the night before,
Mm-hmm.
bowl, go home if you don't want to bowl the Masters. Um,
Wow.
Not sure why you wouldn't want to bowl the Masters. It's guaranteed prize money. ANC are paying equal prize money for men and women.
Yeah.
So there's been some really, I suppose, mate. It speaks to not just bowling, but it speaks to the community at the moment. We seem to be really quick to criticise in public and praise in private, I guess.
Mm.
And I'm not saying everything that we're trying to do is going in the right direction, but there are some really great initiatives here,
Yeah, for sure.
and that we don't hear anything about those, and we're
No.
very quick to jump against the stuff. So there's some
No.
great stuff happening, some
Yeah.
great stuff.
Yeah, I think to Caitlin's point, it was about that if they can get out of lockdown and get clearance to get to Rockway, I think they're all going to jump on a plane as quickly as they can and get down and compete. And obviously, that would eliminate their ability potentially to do the Masters. So,
Correct. Correct.
sorry, and all events, which would rule out the
Yeah,
Masters.
and look, I
But
think
yeah,
we've seen that difficulty in the old system. I think it was NT flew
mm-hmm.
in Bruno one year, and
Yep,
he couldn't bowl the first morning because he had to bowl events up the other end. So why
yep,
would you take probably one of Australia's best anchor players out of the first day of Rockway simply because they have to bowl in all events? So we've
yep,
corrected that, and as we move forward, these events will be short and sharp, and
yep,
players you just got to get here. I would recommend flying. The
yep.
boat, I'm not a big fan of.
How did that go, Morty? Let's just sidetrack here for a second. What was that like?
Mate, I have never been on it's a ship. Is it a ship? You don't call it a ship? I've
It's a
never been on a
ferry.
ship.
It's
Well, I've
it's
never
an
been on a
oversized
ferry.
ferry.
I am told it was smooth sailing. That is not my interpretation of it. And hopping up in the middle of the night to make my way to the men's room and feeling like the floor was moving was less than spectacular.
Less
So
than ideal. Okay. But you've
fly.
had that experience now, right? So you can safely go cruising when COVID's over. You'll be ready for the high seas. So we'll look
Correct.
forward to that one.
Correct. I won't be
So
going on a boat to New Zealand ever.
no, not a slow boat anyway. Obviously, I think Beck Whiting in the chat has obviously answered this for you, Paul, and it was in relation to ball registration under the TBA profile. So it would just be the round weight. You wouldn't need to go 14 pound 4 ounces, etc.
No.
So yeah, so that one's good. We'll leave that one out. Sorry, Chris, if you feel that way. I'm not sure that's quite appropriate, though, unfortunately, with the language there, mate. Robert Townsend, if coming just for the Masters, is there an opportunity to practice before confirming ball selections without having to bowl a squad?
Okay, so the pattern is going to be run the whole time while we're running, and it doesn't change. There will be a couple of evenings where I think the pattern only has one squad on it prior to Sorry, let me start again. There's a couple of nights where there is one squad only, so the pattern would only be that one squad old. So there would be an opportunity to book lanes with the centre, I'm sure. In terms of an official practice for the Masters, there isn't one in the schedule.
Right. Okay. Cool. Will the cap on 4 squads per person now be lifted?
No.
No. Okay. That's fine.
Sorry, Colin. Let me just
accurately.
Yep. It's not 4 squads per person. It's 4 attempts at an event. So, for example, you can bowl more squads. So if you want to bowl 8 squads, you can bowl 8 squads. But what you will only get is your first 4 events will go towards the Australian Masters, for example. The 2 exceptions to that, in the adult week, we have Classic Cup. So you will need to nominate whether you're qualifying for Classic Cup or for Masters. So you can't have a score count to 2 events. And it's the same in the junior week. So initially there was only the Open Masters, and there was some discussion around, a lot of states bring development squads. So in response to that, ANC were pretty proactive, and they put forward the under 14 Masters. So you can bring kids down who may be in President's Shield, may not be, but they'll have an event for them to run. Now, it is the same in that week. So those kids will have 4 attempts at under 14, and they can have 4 attempts at the Open Junior Masters. So you can bowl more than 4 squads. What you can't do is have more than 4 attempts at qualifying for Masters.
Right. Okay. That's awesome. Thank you. And that's heaps of detail there. They continue to come on. Is Mark 5 and Strike 3 World Championships moving forward? I'm not sure if it is on or isn't.
No, it's not. So neither of those events are moving forward. And I'm just going to be openly honest. What we've got really used to doing, Colin, is we've got used to just the events are there and we rock up at the last minute, and we don't put our names down, and we expect these things to still be in place for us to participate. And I get that. I've been guilty of it, like you probably all have in the bowling space. But as we move forward, we want to try and run these events. And if we're brutally honest, the number of centres that are available to run these larger events are getting smaller. So I think at the time the event was cancelled, there may have been a sum total of 4 entries. So at some point, eventually, tournament, you've got to make a call.
Yeah, you do.
And with the uncertainty around COVID, and it was like, well, we're not sure what's going on. Mark and Ashley and Strike 3 were just left with that point where they had to make a call around those events. And you know what it's done? It's helped build the relationship with Zone Bowling, because they're now aware that TBA and the sports promoters that we're engaging are willing to work with the industry to make sure that if we're not going to turn up and have 4 lanes but not let you use the rest of the house for social. So we've got to be mindful of that as we move forward as well.
Absolutely. In this economic time, you need to be, opportunities are abound. So we need to make sure that they're getting used. So Jenny, can changes be made to squads when we arrive? Example, paid for singles but want to bowl in a doubles with someone in that same squad instead.
Jenny, why would you want to bowl with Graham? Come on, like he's left-handed to start with. So yes, Jenny, you can hop online. Entries now. You can go in and move your squads around. That was part of the project with 10-pin results. That was actually, to be honest, it was a really good news story that didn't get a lot of traffic. So I'm going to tell you about it. So 10-pin results, ATBSO, Strike 3, and TBA realised after some discussion with a few tournament promoters and myself, where we've run state championships which are larger, that the handling of the entries is really difficult. So
Yes.
what we did is these guys in the background ponied up some dollars, and even 10-pin results, they were part of the plan. They did a heap of work in lieu, and we built this system that allows bowlers to go in to move their entries around. Is it perfect? Not yet. Is it a step in the right direction? Most definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
And so yes, if you want to combine two people, you'll be able to just come and see me, and I'll get it sorted for you on the day. If you've got a team that you want to now have as two doubles, that functionality is already in 10-pin results. You can go split entry, and it'll just divide it into two.
Yeah, that platform is quite the powerful little platform. They're doing some great work around that. It's a godsend. So, Sam's just come up. When do we have to register our bowling balls, before we go or while we're there?
So basically, before you bowl, Sam, and what you'll see is if you are registered in an event, if you log into 10-pin results into the ANC portal, up the top where it normally has your say the events that you've paid a deposit in or those things, you will see a white, I think it is white square, and it actually has there register your gear. So you can go in and register it through there. Or if what you're doing is, say you're traveling with 6 balls, which is what a lot of athletes do, you can go into your 10-pin results my portal. You can register those 6 balls, put all that detail in now, and then when you get to ANC, you can go in one night, have a practice before. You can go in then and just select those balls and you add them to the list. And then if you decide that you're going to use those same 4 balls for the next event that you're participating in, you just go copy list. It's like a 3-click function. It's really quick. And once again, there's some more functionality coming to that as we move forward. But it's, yes, before you bowl your first ball, they need to be registered.
Perfect. Brady Peary, will refunds be made available? Obviously, Brady, you might have missed that. We did address that a little bit earlier. But yes, if you're locked out due to COVID and you can't attend, please reach out to ANC and they'll be able to go through the process of a refund for you. But thank you for asking that question. We do appreciate it. Thank you, Paul, for your feedback on the entry system. Squad 3 on the 22nd of July. Is it 4 p.m. as per the schedule or 4:30?
Okay, so there was a change. If you go to TBA's website, there is now a scheduled version 4. And look, I can apologise and I can tell you we've had to move things around, but once again, it's about balancing the industry with the sport, with the promoter. So it is at 4:30. It was moved back. So if you need to see the current schedule, I think there might have been 3 small changes in the current schedule, and they're all in the version 4 schedule that's currently sitting on the TBA ANC site.
Perfect. Very good. Well, I'm just going to go and duck down to my little list here and see that we haven't. So we've done the registrations, online activation, ranking points. Did we address ranking points? I think we did.
No, we haven't.
No, we haven't. Okay, no, we did it off air. So
we spoke
someone
about that off
reached
air.
out. So for the kids that can't bowl due to being locked down, what will happen with ranking points?
They won't get them, and there's no easy way to say that, Colin. But
no,
I suppose it's the same way that some of the Queensland guys in the open ranks couldn't get to the AO. I think it's just, as a community, as a sporting community, we just need to acknowledge that, unfortunately, those things are going to happen in this post-COVID type environment, and there is nothing we can do, because to cancel events because maybe, in particular, not maybe you're losing eight President Shield from Victoria, we're losing 8 from New South Wales. It's terrible. My heart breaks for those kids that have done all the work. But once again, you have to go back and default to, if it's heartbreaking for them because they can't get there, how heartbreaking would it be to the kids who can get here, and we just pull the pin.
And I guess I'm guessing that may lead to some things down the track where the ranking points may allow you to drop an event or two, or there may be circumstances built in for a post-COVID or a COVID environment, and those things will always be fluid, unfortunately. So my suggestion on that, from my point of view, from an outsider looking in, would be to email TBA with some suggestions around that, and have some, I guess, positive, or not so much positive, but constructive feedback. Don't attack them, but let's try and find that solution that overcomes those things in those particular instances. So thank you for that. And how many states are confirmed for seniors? Are you across that one?
I think we did. We went through that. Let me just give me 2 seconds, Brenda. I'll answer that.
No problems at all. Guys,
I think there's six at the moment. 6 men, 6 women.
At the moment. Yeah. Will the under 25 rule be scrapped for the 2022 Rockway, Robert Townsend?
Okay. Well, look, I would make the comment that probably at the moment, after the event, there will be a review, and that review will be done with participating states, with TBA, with ANC. It will include the industry, because once again, we've got to find our space in amongst all that. And then once we've done that, all things on the table will be had a look at, and we'll take what worked well and we'll move it forward. And we'll have a look at some of those things that perhaps didn't work well, and we'll readdress them. And look, there was a lot of discussion around the under 23, under 25 rule. I guess what we have to acknowledge as a sport is we need to start getting some kids through. We need to start getting some youth bowlers participating. Otherwise, our elite national team event will end up a bit of a reunion tour. And
completely.
And that's what that rule was about. It wasn't about trying to circumvent someone's position in a team. It's about making sure that in 5-10 years from now, we've got some people coming through that want to participate.
Absolutely. And watching Blake Walsh bowl, I don't think there's any trouble with that. So
Queensland, we got them everywhere.
There's some really good juniors getting around. I've been seeing a lot of them over it's ridiculous the amount of talent we've got in the junior and youth ranks right now. It's an excellent thing. So Tani, is there an ANC 2022? I can't remember if it's a 3-year thing. So
there is. So basically, the arrangement and once again, this is probably something you should direct directly to ANC, but it was a 3-year arrangement with ANC, and it has been bumped back. So the Tasmanian government were happy to move things back. So I think you'll find that we'll be participating in a colder part of the world for a couple of years. And, the upside of that, Colin, is it allows us to get really good at delivering this event, because it gets some time. The downside of the rotation type system, and I get there are some other downsides with transportation and cost and so forth, but it allows you to really fine tune an event. The same thing in Queensland when we run state championships. When they sit in one centre for 2 years, or 3 years, you get really good in that centre, and then you move to another centre, and you sort of got to juggle all the balls again.
Yeah, absolutely. So Brady just reaching out. Why not bring youth back again, or bring back youth again like it used to be?
Is that in terms of the youth tournament?
I'm not sure, Brady. Can you give us some more context around that
Yeah.
question? Sorry, Brady, if you, is that just in relation to youth being more bowlers, bowling youth, or because we do obviously have the youth section, so we'll move on quickly there, and we'll come back to Brady's question. Thanks, guys. Catch you next time. Just finished bowling, heading home. See you over there. Thank you, Leon. Paul, how about removing the over 18 rule for Rockway vested interest? Yeah, righto, Paul. We know about Ben, mate. It's all good.
Mate, look, I think that'll be another one of the discussions that
Yeah.
will be talked about, because if you're good enough to participate, then really we need to start to pick these kids up and give them a pathway into elite bowling. Then look, I saw Robbie Townsend's comment around it is elite, and part of the argument against that rule is that you should be good enough to make it on your own. The problem we have is we're not providing any pathway for these kids, and so in the space where the sport's not getting it done properly at state level, then what we need to do is we need to make it happen. And this rule is about making sure states realise that they need to engage with kids, they need to engage with the youth, and we need to get some of these people coming through into our ranks.
Yeah, and I think what's that? Paul Oakley, upside, you'll eventually see snow. Paul, I haven't seen snow. I'm not keen to see snow. Ice is for drinks. It's not for my feet or any other part. Hayden's got a comment, just bringing back the draft system for those states that cannot field a team. Any comment there, Morty?
Okay, so look, I think the President Shield example was it really resonated with me. When one state is providing, over 40% of the kids that are participating into President Shield, I think that was the last one we run. Now, two things happen. The upside of that is that kids in Queensland get an opportunity to go and bowl for another state. The downside, and this is probably the real problem, is that what happens is some states can get to a point where we know we fall back on the draft all the time. And I am not at all saying that it is easy to recruit people into our sport. It's not our sport, it's all sports. Like if you were to talk to any administrator across probably anything from pony club right up to rodeo, right into football, they're struggling with volunteers. They're struggling with social media, dealing with how we handle social media, and they're struggling with junior retention. And so I personally don't think the draft is the answer. I think what we need to do is we need to do whatever we can do from a TBA perspective and get states with better programs that can allow kids to come up. And I suppose, one of the comments that I heard, which really I felt, that's not exactly right, is what the draft was doing is some states would go, well, you're not quite ready. You might be the best in our state, but I can go and get a better child from another state. Now, my comment would be, if you're the best kid in the state, you should get a run. And the draft was perhaps preventing that.
Yeah, I think I mean, devil's advocate there. I think we don't want those, those three kids in another state that were there and ready to bowl because they genuinely didn't have enough juniors to miss out. So I think in that instance where they don't have the junior base to be able to participate, I think the draft could be looked at there. But that's just me playing devil's advocate. We won't get caught up in that. But
can I make one comment for that? So what that does, exactly right. All at face value, you look at the draft and you go, it's got to be a great idea. But what happens is that state that needed one bowler then needs two bowlers. Then all of a sudden needs three bowlers. And then all of a sudden doesn't participate because they can't get anyone across the line. And TBA tried to fix that where they said, you couldn't go to the draft unless you had two players from your own state. But I think the draft may come back in a different form, but that will be a discussion post this event, and you'll go,
100%.
how did
I completely, hands up there. I wasn't looking to obviously add fuel to a fire there. I think it's important that we retain the base of juniors that we've got, and we give them every opportunity to compete at those levels. But again, that's a conversation for another time post this event. Let's go back on that. Robert Alexander's got a point here. SA juniors still stuck in Adelaide due to flights being cancelled at the last minute. They fly out tomorrow morning and may miss official practice. Can we bowl after the practice session has finished on the pattern?
Now, I think it might have been Lynn that reached out to us this afternoon and texted us that information, so we'll confirm with the centre. But once again, communication. So Lynn reached out, said we've got a problem. We'll talk to the centre and we'll sort something out. We're all about making sure we get kids and adults and seniors on the field to bowl. So if that means we've got to talk to the centre about, can we get 2 lanes or 2 pair done because a flight got delayed, I will do my best to get that sorted. So we'll go.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's not about putting anyone at a disadvantage at this point. It's got to be done. So just a couple of thank yous. Terry, I'm not going to attempt your last name. Sorry, Terry. I will mess that up. I'm terribly sorry. And obviously, Paul, thanks for tuning in, Paul. Appreciate that it's late, obviously, over there in New Zealand. Look forward to catching up with you guys in the near future. Our New Zealand entered in the seniors, Morty.
I shut my spreadsheet, Brenda. Give me 2 seconds. Ask me another question, Colin, while I'm looking it up.
As a coach who, so Hayden George has reached out. As a coach who has used the draft, that was not the case in Tasmania. Now, I'm sure that there'll be, not being used correctly. I'm sure that the draft was being used the right way in most instances. So, not looking for an argument there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that question is, but pick the phone up, give me a call, and we can have a discussion about it.
Terry must be from New Zealand. He's saying yes, they are. So thank you for answering that, Terry.
Thank you, Terry.
Appreciate that. That answers that one. Are seniors about to draft? Rule 6F/G says you can take someone. You need to apply to ANC. That would be something to take up with ANC, I believe.
Well, look, I've had these conversations with all the states. Any state that's struggled to fill a team, all they had to do was reach out and have a conversation with ANC, because we knew there'd been some changes to the format, there'd been some new rules implemented. So I'm not aware of any seniors about to be drafted. I am aware of some of the issues that have transpired with the seniors over in WA. So I'm assuming I'll hear from Brenda when I give her a call after this.
Perfect. Yeah. No, and I think Hayden's given us some clarification there. We didn't have the bowlers, and we're more than happy to give bowlers from the other states the opportunity to participate. Yeah. Look, Hayden, 100%. Yeah. Completely agree, mate.
And look, Hayden, I can't argue with that. That's what the draft was designed. It was built with the best intention. What it has stopped is, mate, I was in Zone Bowl Moona yesterday. There was 82 kids. I counted them. I have never seen a centre so busy. And in that type of environment, you can't expect the centres to be doing the recruiting for us, because, mate, that centre is busy. Like, there are people running everywhere. And that's where the sport and TBA need to work out how we get someone on those big days, and we're in amongst those people just going, hey, you throw the ball great, here's a pamphlet, we have coaching on this afternoon. There's a whole conversation about how we revamp recruiting into our sport. And like I said, the advantages of the draft were there, but they've hidden another problem that we've got to address.
Yeah, for sure. Bernie, how would we process a refund in the event that we can't participate due to border restrictions?
Reach out to ANC, mate. Just send an email through to the ANC, and Ash and Mark will sort you out.
Yep, absolutely. Utilise our NTS squads to help get more kids involved. Great suggestion, Beck. Really, Be a scout, absolutely. Yeah, look, I think there's a million ways we can do it, and I think I having dealt with Rowan personally at TBA, I think he's got a lot of positive things in the pipeline, and there are a lot of positive people out there in the community. You're seeing it in the comments. Um, we'll get there. It's going to take some time to put all of the pieces together, but I think the sport's on the right track, and having an event like this and obviously seeing it run successfully, I think that will reinvigorate people for next year. And as I said, we don't want to see people miss out, but I think we truly are on the right
Mate,
track.
what I think we have to look at it like, Colin, is, I get it. We're going to run an event, and there's going to be some states that maybe can't hit.
Yep.
And at the moment, we seem to be taking a really dire position on that as a bowling community. I think
Yep.
what we should be doing is we should be going, you know what? In amongst all of this COVID craziness, in amongst events being cancelled everywhere, 10 pin bowling has delivered a national. And
Yep.
we've delivered an
Absolutely.
event. We've got people playing our sport at a national level. And
Yep.
no, it's not perfect, but at least we've
No.
got it done. Because there'll be a lot of sports that haven't got events done because they've just had to, the amount of pressure, and they've capitulated. Like,
Yeah.
I think
Absolutely.
it's a positive story, not a negative one.
No, it truly is, and I think we all empathise with those that can't get there. Obviously, it's not something we need to see, but I mean, we're seeing it play out in all the sports at the moment with the NRL and whatever having to sideline players. It might have been the AFL having to sideline players because they went into a cafe in Sydney and a potential exposure site. So those sort of stories, I guess, play out right across sport and right across the country in all sorts of different fields. So
Yeah.
whilst
And
not
mate, I'll
ideal,
address Tani's question just very briefly.
yeah,
So,
please.
yeah. So you want to read the question out?
Yeah,
Or
Morty,
you just
just to
want me to
circle
answer it?
back on my communication question, to be clear, yes, you are correct that we have scheduled meeting with ANC, and that was great. That was not what the question was about, but when the outbreak happened in the East, we heard nothing from TBAL or ANC, and that we feel some of us that we were left to make decisions and field questions, and sometimes this is a downer until you got online now, we heard nothing.
And look, I 100% I get it. Like, it's
Yep.
not easy being a volunteer. Um, from a personal point of view, I didn't think to pick the phone up to WA because
Yeah.
it's a green zone,
Mm.
and most of the teams were flying direct to Hobart. So
Yeah.
I suppose in our defence, or in my defence, we were caught up with trying to handle the states that were starting to have an outbreak and what we could do. I spoke
Yeah.
to Jamie Taff a couple of times, and I know ANC were in communication with the states that were dealing with COVID unravelling, and
Yeah,
it
of
was
course.
like it was a you're green, Tasmania's green, you guys will be fine. So
Yeah.
I suppose also the whole communication right along from the events was that if Tasmania was open and you could get there, ANC was going ahead. So there's
Yeah.
never ever been any communication, I think, from TBA or from ANC that has said anything different than the event's running.
Yeah.
And there was some dealing with the states that had the problem. And in retrospect, perhaps we should have had another state managers conference, even with the green states. But like I
Yeah.
said, you've got to deal with the fire that's in front of you,
Yep.
and you didn't think to contact the state where there was no issue.
And that's something I think where an email to Morty or an email to ANC or an email to TBA or all three, just outlining that so that next year if we're facing the same problem, we've got a playbook to go back to and go, let's make sure we don't make that mistake again. So I think this is a great forum to be able to bring these solutions to the table. So and Tani, we understand you're not throwing
Yeah,
not throwing rocks. This is what this conversation's about. It's about having a conversation and just ensuring that we get the communication out there as we can. So there's another one from Brenda. We seniors flying through
yeah,
Sydney and Melbourne. That's completely fine. The airports aren't considered a hotspot, so you can transit through the airport. Please don't leave the airport, or you might be in trouble. But yeah, if your flight goes via an airport like Sydney or Melbourne, you are completely safe. But just please follow the guidelines from the airlines in that particular instance. Live streaming of the events, Morty. Can you speak to the live
Masters.
streaming side?
So basically, the Masters events will have live streaming. The actual interstate competitions, I'm not aware of any live streaming, but I know that your Masters events, your step ladder finals, they'll be done. So
Yeah,
there'll be more
yeah,
information around that as the event unfolds, and we'll
of
make
course.
sure that there's links available.
Yeah. Keith said he might be wrong. He's not sure WA can fly direct to Tasmania. That may be the case, Keith, but it is completely fine to be able to
Okay.
transit through Melbourne. I think what you would find that they would probably do it through South Australia potentially just to avoid any risk. But I would be contacting the airlines in that instance. They would be able to answer that question. There are not a lot of direct flights from WA. Yep, okay, that's fine. Brenda, now we'll have to cancel our flights with Virgin and book direct with Qantas. Huge costs, guys. I'm not quite sure why you would have to cancel those, Brenda. Pretty sure you
Transit
can
fine.
fly. Yeah, yeah, definitely. I would be ringing Virgin before I cancelled anything, Brenda, in that particular instance, just to make sure. I'm 99.9% certain that you can fly through either Sydney or Melbourne and have no problems. It's not considered a hotspot. Appreciate the work around funding and sponsorship and the fact the Masters pay is guaranteed. But why is the payout so bad? Better payouts in ranked events and some New South Wales regionals. Not sure on that one, sorry.
Mate, not sure. That's
Yeah,
a once again a post event type discussion. The payouts there, it's guaranteed prize money, which is more than we've had. And when I say more, we know what the payout is before we hop on the plane and participate, which
yeah,
is something that we haven't had at nationals ever. It's always been built around um, the number of entries. And I suppose the equal payout for the men's and women's is something that also the girls have never had. And look, I
yeah.
know from attending, you know, probably as many nationals as Robbie has, that a
Mm,
lot of girls they get to the final and then they go, well, I'm not gonna bowl because the payout is so short because of the number of girls, or
yeah,
number of ladies. So
yeah,
this is, I think there's room to get better, and all of this sort of stuff will be in a post review and
yeah, for
try and
sure.
improve next year.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not about the green zone to green zone was the problem for some members. It was the concern that they would obviously become infected or the event did get cancelled. We would lose money. Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think that's been a big concern for a lot of people, Tani, and a fair point as well. It's definitely a concern when money and the amount of money that we all spend to get to these events. So we certainly appreciate that. SA has very few direct flights per week. Thanks, Joe. Yeah, it is. It is definitely a challenge, and I'm guessing that wouldn't be a high transit sort of a route. I guess Tasmanian flights would potentially be limited a fair bit. I would imagine from all states, maybe except for Melbourne. So yeah, hence, as I said, the airlines will be able to give you the best advice there. If you've got any concerns whatsoever, please contact your airline prior to flying, obviously, would be ideal. So, WA can't fly through Vic or New South Wales to get home. Wow. That goes against the communications I've had, but again, I can't speak to WA. I do fly to WA a fair bit, so I was actually due to go not long after the Nationals, so I'll keep an eye on that. Thanks for bringing that up, Samantha. Brenda, done this managing for many years, spoken to our booking agents. Yes, we will be up for costs. I want our seniors teams to go, but already had to pay out $2,600. Now more for a new airfare. Okay. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I
Look,
can't really
I
speak to
suppose,
that.
mate,
Yeah.
what it speaks to is it speaks to the difficulty around the environment we're in.
For
COVID
sure.
is, it affects everything. It doesn't matter whether it's a sporting event, a wedding, like I said before, attending a conference or training.
Of course. Yeah.
It's one of those things that we're going to have to deal around the best we
Yeah.
can. And, I would encourage everyone, if you can get on the field and you can get down here and you feel comfortable with that you attend, because participation is what keeps these events going.
Absolutely.
I know that I had a quick catch up with some of the Holt bowlers, and one of their concerns were, if they cancelled 2 years in a row, would they get the event up the third year?
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
that's a valid concern. Like, if we keep cancelling events and the roll the dice that it gets cancelled this year and we cancel again, we just can't go down that path. It's
No.
not good for bowling.
No, not at all. Morty, any chance of the draft coming back? I feel this was a knee-jerk move that, if anything, yeah. So sorry, Brenton, we had sort of spoken, I guess, a little bit about the draft. Morty.
Mate, look, honestly, at the moment, I would say no. I think the draft may be able to be discussed in a different model, but definitely the way it was, where just anyone can bowl from anyone, it's not really state versus state. And once again, I get all the upside of the draft, but what I don't think we were seeing, or we chose not to see, was the downside of the draft.
Yeah,
And there was definitely some downsides. So I think the draft is another conversation that TBA, ANC, and some of the states need to have a discussion about. But at this stage, I would not envisage the draft in the old format coming back at all.
No, that's fair. I think but Brenton, I guess that's one of those conversations post the event that they'll have, and if you've got any ideas or any solutions, that emailing Morty or reaching out to your state association, or indeed TBA or ANC with your ideas, I think they'd be welcome. Obviously, tabling those and being able to bring them all together and pick apart what the best bits of each are would be a great solution in that particular instance. Andrew's waiting for the wind and the rain to come so I can take Morty to play real golf.
I'm not playing golf. I brought my clubs. No, I brought my clubs, mate. But it's cold.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it is cold. It is cold. So, is the shuttle running after Rockway, and it's available? Is it available for other players? Wasn't intending on hiring a car if I can get there. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, no, the shuttle is not running. Basically, it was not taken up as an option that states seem to be real keen on. I do know that ANC have some arrangements with car hire, and they have some established relationships there. So the best thing I could suggest around car hire or bus hire is to reach out to ANC with an email, and they should be able to get something sorted for you on that.
Yeah, well, potentially someone may be able to come and pick you up, Robert. Potentially, I'm not sure. You might have some people down there that you may know. So, last question from Tani. Sorry, don't apologise, Tani. This is the forum that we're here to answer, or Morty's here to answer the questions. I'm just here to ask them. I've got the easy job. When the event does finish, will all states be a part of the roundtable discussion for our lessons learnt, not just what we have spoken about tonight?
I think there will be an opportunity for feedback for the states. I would make this comment that for states that have not participated and are not in COVID lockdown, you will need to present a valid argument as to how you get involved in that discussion, because it's very hard for states that don't participate to actually be able to put forward criticism or critiquing on an event if they're not there. If you attend the event and you're there and you have valid concerns, there will be a voice, and bowlers, we have the opportunity to put it forward. But I think we need to have a real mindset change, Colin. Like, we need to understand where our sport sits at the moment. Like, we need to make some changes. Our sport needs to, really engage at a different level with how we think of social play incentives and how we recruit into our sport. Otherwise, in another 10 years, you and I will be having this conversation and it'll just be about seniors.
Yeah,
So
look, I'm heartened by the level of conversation we've had and the interest
yep,
that we've had, obviously, in putting this together. Plenty of people still hanging around an hour and 15 minutes looking at our ugly mugs,
yep.
but they're here. So, I mean, that's heartening for the sport. I think there's plenty of good people in the sport, and it's heading in the right direction. So, the more we can have these sort of forums, I guess, and the more we can bring those ideas to the table, the better. So, yeah, Robert was just mentioning you're not going to play Barn Boogley. I think that's his. Yeah,
Mate, no,
not
I
quite
was going
sure.
to go and play Bamboogle, but
Mm.
my team players decided not to turn up. So
Oh
I'm by
no.
myself. So I might go down to the local course here. I'm sure Andrew can sort something out that's perhaps not as hard as Bamboogle.
Yeah, potentially. Of course, we cannot comment when they are not there, of course, but there is a lot of feedback leading into the event, you know. Yeah, absolutely, Tony. I think that's a fair comment. So, yeah,
I mean, look, too, what we've got to do is we've got to make sure we get people at the meetings. Like, I
yeah,
get,
definitely,
we're a big country, and
yeah,
I understand that that when it comes to picking a time for a meeting, and like we've got New Zealand who
hmm,
are, in another time zone as well. So I get
definitely,
that, but this once again, it speaks to this communication issue because several of those ANC meetings, not all of the states attended. And so
mm,
it becomes frustrating from a promoter and from a TBA perspective. You're trying to do the right thing. You're trying to get the information out, and some states can't get there. So I think what we
of
have to
course,
do at a state level is make sure that we've always got someone at those meetings, that
definitely,
we are actually representing our bowlers, and we make sure that if it's Morty that normally sits on that meeting for Queensland and he can't get there, Gale's there or someone else is there,
yeah,
and that's what needs to happen in all of the states. There needs to
yeah,
be that backup plan.
yeah,
Otherwise, we have to completely revamp how we communicate with bowlers because
yeah.
it falls over at that level.
For sure. Microsoft Teams is an amazing platform too. So if we can't do, in person, I guess obviously there's obviously platforms to be able to have those meetings. So yeah, no, completely agree, Morty. I think that's close on an hour and 20 minutes,
Yep.
mate. If there's no more, a couple more minutes, guys, we'll get this thing wrapped up. It's obviously just gone past 9 o'clock now. Um, so if you do have any questions, please fire them into the comments now. Otherwise, we'll get this one wrapped up. Please, if you need to have any more questions and we've shut the live stream down, reach out to Bowlcast, reach out to Morty directly. We'll obviously pass them on to Morty. Uh, Again, Morty, is there an email address that they could email from ANC or TBA?
Yeah, there's a contact page and an email address through the ANC or the Strike Free website.
Mm-hmm.
You can email via TBA. So
Yep.
I've received those. And look, once again, mate, what I would really stress is it's like going and trying to self-diagnose yourself on Google.
Mm-hmm.
Don't
Mm.
don't go to social media to look for the answer. If you have a valid question, send it through. Like most people have my phone number. It's pretty much out and about in the bowling community. Like I
Yep.
will I will answer what I can, and if I can't answer it, I will find out the answer and I will get back to you.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's what we need to do. We need to make sure we get the right answers first up, because there's been a lot of people getting worked up, and I understand why, but they've got upset about stuff that isn't factual. So
Mm.
we need to make sure that when we do have to get answers, that we get them from the source and
Yep.
we get the right answers.
Okay. I think Brenda might have a chat to you, Morty, on that
I'll
one.
talk to
We'll
Brenda.
leave that one. You can address that
I'll
one
deal with that.
with Brenda off air. We've just got a couple of people chiming in. Good chat, guys. Robbie or anyone for that matter. If you need a lift, airport or hotel, oh look at that, Jackie Ash Riley. Maybe I'm not quite sure who it is. It could be Ash. It could be Jackie. But that's amazing, and that's what our sport's about. People reaching out and saying that they can give people a lift. That's awesome. Thank you, Morty, for your time. Good luck with the event. I hope it goes well. Damon, Philip, Cornelius, thanks. Very interesting. Thanks, guys. Very interesting. Caitlin Kamane on your Morty. Hopefully, we'll catch up in a couple of weeks. Yep, fingers crossed, Caitlin. We'd love to see you down there. Paul Oakley, great chat, guys. See you tomorrow. Quick one from Brenton. How do we go about saving the sport when its largest proprietor prefers to promote every junior. Oh, sorry, I can't quite work out what that was, but I wish
Mate,
I
I'm
had
going
the
to answer that because I think I know what Brenton's getting at. What he's asking is when centres aren't, I think the days have gone where the
Yeah,
centres have enough staff to be able to do the recruiting.
correct.
And that, Beck made a great comment earlier. Like maybe we reach out to the NTS.
Hmm.
Young Jesse Ellis, like
Yeah,
youth
100%.
state team bowler, coach for Bowl Patrol. If you were Logan Bowl, where he based out of Logan, isn't he?
Yeah, he works. He
Yeah,
works there as
mate,
well.
you would be just trying to get that kid involved in everything, and that's
Yeah,
what we need. Centers just, dollars are tight. That every way you turn,
yeah,
businesses are copying it. And as a sport, we need to go. We're going to help do the recruiting. And
yeah,
yes, if it means that we put money into AMF or into zone bowling because now they've got a league of 50 juniors in the afternoon on a Tuesday where they had nothing, well, we've
yeah.
just got to accept that and acknowledge it's good for our sport to have that level of participation.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, look, it's always going to be a challenge because there's corporate companies have businesses to run at the same time as well. So we
Yeah,
need to be mindful that they are there to make a profit, and that will inevitably come first in corporate land. And as you say, there are plenty of passionate people out there. Jesse Ellis, it was a good call there, Morty. He ran a tournament. He's added
yeah,
tournament director to his a list of things that he's achieved in the sport. So and did a really good job of it last weekend. So yeah, I think that plays out across the state. I think you've got great bowlers, great youth and junior and adult bowlers right across every state that could be there to help in those instances. That's it, guys. We're gonna call it quits. That's an hour and 20 minutes. Morty, thank you for reaching out. Thank you for having me or allowing me to host this. It's awesome. If you want to do it again, let's do it.
yeah.
Happy to get these going on a regular basis and help wherever I can. So. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. And we'll catch you all next time. Good night.
Yeah. See you later, guys.